If you're tired of relying on medications and constantly chasing your IBS symptoms with different supplements and pills, don't worry, there's a solution. Ayurveda has lots of herbs and home remedies that you can start implementing into your diet and your lifestyle that are going to have a longer term impact rather than just temporary fixes that Western modalities might be providing you right now. I'm going to be sharing some different herbs that are good for all the different types of IBS and for each dosha. And Ayurveda herbs aren't just quick fixes, they're real long-term solutions. And the reason is that they're addressing the doshas and the functions of your body at a deeper level rather than covering up symptoms or chasing symptoms to try and mediate them. You can kind of think about this again like epigenetics, where we're influencing the way our genes are behaving and the way our body processes are behaving. And what's wonderful about herbs is they're very safe and effective to use. Basically, all herbs are food. So they're just more concentrated powers of food. What you might get a benefit out of a half a bunch of cilantro, say, you can get in 1 or 2 teaspoons of coriander seed. A quick note before I start jumping into all the different herbs. More is not necessarily better. I've definitely had my own personal experience of thinking, oh, I'll just take more of this herb. And when you're out of balance and you start taking herbs to correct yourself into balance, you can end up pushing yourself in another direction that can cause a different problem. So in general, for all the herbs that I'm going to be sharing with you today, and that are in the guide, typically 1 to 3 teaspoons per day is pretty adequate. That said, you definitely want to listen to your body, be mindful, take it slow, and just be paying attention to how you're feeling as you're going through this process. So for Vata types who would typically be experiencing IBS-M, my top 3 herbs are fennel, ginger, and clove. And this clove might be an exception as quite a powerful herb. So where I said 1 to 3 teaspoons a day, for that one, I might say somewhere between a half a teaspoon and 1.5 teaspoons total throughout the day. These herbs are great for increasing Agni, for decreasing Ama. Fennel seeds particularly are carminative, which means anti-flatulence, less gas. And then for Pitta, my number one absolute chief, you really call it an herb, but aloe vera gel. So you get fresh aloe vera gel and you can cut open the leaf and scrape out the gel. You can either cook this into a dish or you can make a smoothie out of it if you can tolerate raw foods. But this is going to be extremely helpful for IBS-D and for Pitta. You also want to be doing other things in addition to the aloe, whereas the aloe is still liquid. You would probably still be experiencing diarrhea. However, it's going to really help with bringing some tonification, some tensile strength, and some elasticity back to the intestines after they've been so hot for so long and lost their tension. So by following a Pitta or IBS-D type diet, cooling the body down, following the eating guidelines that are indicated in a previous video and in the guide, you'll start to really heal that IBS-D. And then doing the aloe vera gel is going to help heal the internal skin, just like we'd use aloe on the external skin for a burn. You can use aloe on the internal skin to heal all that heat, all that fire, all the acidity, all the burning that's been happening through experiencing IBS-D for an extended period of time. Continuing for Pitta, coriander seeds are really amazing. Should definitely be in your food, and you can use as a pre-digestive before you eat your meals, and that'll really help with regulating the Agni. And then as a post-digestive for Pitta, for IBS-D, a little bit of turmeric, maybe a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon after your meal is really incredible for really slowing down that fire and reducing inflammation. Of course, we've heard all the wonders of turmeric here, and it's grown in its popularity now. Finally, for Kapha or IBS-C, where it's like thick, heavy, mucousy, my chief recommendation here is going to be Trickatu, which is a Ayurvedic herbal compound of ginger powder, black pepper powder, and pipali or long pepper powder. These 3 herbs together are very pungent, very hot, and they're scraping and they're drying. So all that mucus, all that sluggishness, what these herbs are going to do is help speed things up, help warm things up because kapha is cold, the earth and water elements. So it's like very heavy, very slow, very sluggish, very sticky. These herbs are going to help cut through all those things and get things moving. This is another herb where I'll say is quite powerful. So between a half a teaspoon and 1.5 teaspoons total per day would be probably most appropriate. And then for all three doshas, I highly recommend cumin, coriander, fennel, or CCF. You can make a tea out of this and sip it throughout the day. You can make like a 1 liter bottle, is quite good, and then just have that in small portions. You can take the cumin, coriander, and fennel, grind it all together, and use that as a spice in all of your dishes. It might get a little bit boring, so you can combine some other dishes. It might get a little bit boring, so you can combine some other spices that are also good for your dosha on top of the CCF. But in general, CCF is very good for the gut. It's great for digestion. It's great for gas, bloating, constipation, increasing Agni, decreasing Ama, increasing the digestion and decreasing the toxins in the digestive tract. So it's going to be an all-around, when in doubt, fix all. Another home remedy, along with the CCF tea, is you can make like a CCF buttermilk, or you can just do one of the top herbs I've recommended for each dosha, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, in the buttermilk. So for Vata, you could do like a fennel or ginger buttermilk. For Pitta, you could do a coriander buttermilk. And for Kapha, you can do a trickatu or a cumin buttermilk. In Western terms, this buttermilk is going to be a combination of prebiotic and probiotic. The prebiotic is coming from the fiber from the seeds naturally, and then the probiotic is coming from the bacteria that's in the buttermilk naturally occurring. So that's the spices in a nutshell and a couple of home remedies in a nutshell. There's a lot more information on all of those in the guide, which you can download below. Next up, I want to talk about how you're taking herbs. So you can include the herbs in your dishes and your meals, which is extremely beneficial. But then one of my absolute favorite ways for myself personally and working with my clients is taking herbs as a pre-digestive and a post-digestive. So anytime that you take an herb before a meal, it's working directly on your Agni, your digestive power. So the herb that you take before your meal is going to help to correct your Agni, whether your Agni is too strong or too hot, which might be the case in somebody with IBS-D and heartburn, GERD, things like that. So it can have a corrective action on that really hot Agni. It can also have an increasing action for someone who's typically Kapha or Vata type, where the Vata type Agni might be more erratic, and the Kapha type Agni is going to be just much more sluggish and slow. So that's the pre-digestive herb. And then the post-digestive herb is working principally on the ama, the toxins that are built up in the digestive system. So you take the herb beforehand, you stoke up the fire in your stomach, you eat your meal, and then after your meal, you take that last herb, and that's going to be like the cleanup crew for any undigested food particles in your digestive system. So you don't get that ama that builds up and then eventually circulates into your system and causes disease, like we talked about in a previous video. That's the pre-digestive, post-digestive kind of idea. For Vata, you can take any one of the herbs that I've recommended in the Vata list in the guide, but here's some recommendations that I would just recommend off the top. Is for Vata, so pre-digestive, taking a slice of ginger with a little squeeze of lime juice on it and a pinch of salt. Then you can have your meal. And then as a post-digestive, you can chew on fennel seeds, which would be about 1 teaspoon of fennel seeds or 5 grams. You can also have toasted fennel seeds. Both are good, fresh or toasted. Timing for the pre and post-digestive is about a 30-minute window of your meal. So if you think 15 minutes before you're going to eat, that's a good time to take your pre-digestive, have your food, and then you can set a timer on your phone or whatever. And then 15 minutes after your meal, take your post-digestive. For Pitta, the pre-digestive and post-digestive is extremely simple. It's coriander seeds. So you can take the coriander seeds ground in a little splash of water and just take it like a shot. Coriander is extremely good for Pitta or IBS-D type Agni, the digestive power, and it's extremely good for the ama as well. And finally, for Kapha types and IBS-C, the slow, sluggish, heavy mucus type IBS-C, then you can take trickatu beforehand. And again, remember, this is a really intense one, so you can just do like a half a teaspoon for that prior to your meals. If the trickatu turns out to be too intense for you, then you can just do a little bit of ginger powder instead. And then as a post-digestive for Kapha, what's really great is cumin seeds. And same thing like for Vata, you can just take about a teaspoon of those, pop them, and just chew them. And you want to chew them for about a minute and then swallow. So all these remedies can absolutely bring you relief. These are general suggestions. Your type of IBS and the cause of your IBS and your dosha are all going to be important factors to consider in trying the different herbs. So if something doesn't work for you, you can try play around a little bit In the guide, there's quite a list of herbs for each dosha, so you can give all of them a try and see what works best for you as a pre-digestive in your meals and then after your meals. If you're having a hard time putting this all together, I totally understand. It's a lot of information. It's a new science, a new system of understanding, a new way of thinking about the body. So in inclusion to the guide and trying everything on your own, you can also reach out to me and book yourself an IBS implementation call, and I'd be happy to help you, give you guidance on any of the material that's covered in this course. This way, you can really tap into the power of Ayurvedic medicine, which is personalized. Personalized medicine is always going to be so much more effective than just general advice, which is what, again, makes IBS so challenging, because everybody is experiencing a myriad of different symptoms, and everybody has a different dosha. So those combination of things can sometimes be a little bit tricky to weed through. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'd appreciate it if you comment below and tell me about which herbs you're trying or are going to try, for which type of IBS that you have and which dosha you are. If you feel like this was helpful for you, I would love a comment, a like, or a subscribe, so we can get the word out there and help more people with IBS heal. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you in the next video.